All right, let's talk about writing. Today we are going way beyond just basic grammar. We're going to talk about how to write sentences that don't just sit there on the page, but actually sing. Sentences that are powerful and that people remember.
Does this before side look a little familiar? I bet it does, right? Just a string of short, choppy sentences. They get the information across, sure, but they're not exactly exciting. Now, look at the after. Same information, but wow, it flows, it has rhythm, it actually tells a story. That jump is exactly what we're going to unpack today.
You know, so many of us get stuck in what I like to call the sentence rut. It's that super frustrating place where you have this great idea in your head, but when you put it on paper, it just lands with a thud. It sounds flat. But the good news is, there is absolutely a way out.
And here's the secret. Getting out of that rut isn't about memorizing 100 different boring grammar rules. No, it's about understanding something much deeper. A powerful connection in our brains between how we read and how we write. Turns out, they're two sides of the very same coin.
So, let's dig into the why behind this. There's some fascinating science here that totally flips the script on how we should think about getting better at writing.
Okay, so this quote might look a little academic, right? A bidirectional model. But stick with me because the idea behind these words is an absolute game changer. It tells us that the link between reading and writing is not a one-way street.
So what does that really mean? Well, we've all heard that reading more makes you a better writer. Of course it does. But what this research proved is that the street goes both ways. Practicing the act of writing better sentences actually makes you a better, sharper reader. Every single time you build a sentence, you're training your brain to understand how other sentences are built.
And this visual just says it all, doesn't it? It's a perfect feedback loop. When you consciously work on your writing, you're not just practicing some mechanical skill. You are literally sharpening your ability to understand complex ideas and to see how other writers make their arguments work.
So if practice is the key, how do we actually do it? What's the practical next step? Well, it's time to get our hands dirty. It's time to open up the Writer's Toolkit.
First up, the most important, fundamental tool in the whole box. Combine and conquer. This is how we stop writing like a robot and start weaving our ideas together into a single, logical thought. And the secret ingredient? A humble little thing called a conjunction.
I mean, just look at these little words, and, but, so. They seem so simple, but they are doing some serious heavy lifting. And adds things together, but shows a conflict. So creates a cause and effect. Using them isn't just about making your sentences longer, it's about showing the logic behind your thoughts.
Okay, logic? Check. We've built a solid foundation. But let's be real. We want more than just logic, right? We want style. We want flair. Now it's time to move beyond just connecting ideas and start actually painting a picture with our words.
This next set of tools, this is where the magic really happens. These are the techniques that separate pretty good writing from truly great writing.
First up, we've got a technique that sounds kind of fancy, but it's amazing. It's called the absolute phrase. The best way to think about it is like a zoom lens on a camera. It lets you zoom in on one specific vivid detail and attach it to your sentence.
J.K. Rowling is an absolute master of this.
Harry froze. Okay, that's a sentence. But then she adds the absolute phrase, his cut finger slipping on the jagged edge of the mirror again. And boom, suddenly you're right there in the moment. You can feel the tension, the danger. It's so specific.
And get this, you can even stack them. John Steinbeck does it here to create this incredible sense of energy and motion. Listen to the rhythm it creates. Their heads down, their forearms working, their breath whistling. It's like a drum beat, pushing the action forward in a way that separate sentences never could.
Okay, our next tool for adding detail is the non-restrictive clause. That's just a fancy way of saying it's like a little by the way comment, or a helpful aside that you can tuck right into your sentence to add extra flavor.
So for instance, you could just say, my mouse problem is getting crazy. Fine. But by tucking in that little clause, which I never dealt with in Arizona, you're adding personality, you're adding backstory. It just makes the whole thing so much more real and interesting.
All right, the theory is done. We've got our tools laid out. Now for the really fun part. We're going to do a live sentence makeover. Let's see just how powerful this stuff really is.
Here is our starting point. 4 very simple, very separate sentences. It reads like a list of facts, not a story. It gives us information, but it doesn't make us feel anything.
Okay, step 1, combine. Let's pull out that first tool from our toolkit. We can see a pretty clear cause and effect happening here. The wind was cold, so he shivered. Just by adding that one word, so, we've started to build a bridge between these ideas.
Now, step 2. Let's add some detail. Let's bring in one of our new style tools. How about an absolute phrase? We can show how he's wearing that old coat. His old coat pulled tight. See? Instantly, we have a much clearer picture in our heads.
And now for the grand finale. We take all those pieces, we rearrange them just a little bit for the best possible flow, and look at that. Just look at the difference. The before is a police report. The after? That's the beginning of a story. It's richer, more efficient, and tells a way better story with the exact same pieces of information.
And this is the most important thing I want you to remember today. What we just did is not magic. It is a craft. Writing sentences that really sing isn't some secret talent you're either born with or you're not. It is a skill. And like any other skill, it can be learned, it can be practiced, and you can get so much better at it.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Go look at something you've written recently, an email or report, doesn't matter what. And don't just ask yourself if the sentences are correct. Ask what story are they telling? And maybe more importantly, what story could they be telling?